not to move too quick because I need this to be a specific or a certain length of time in order to ensure everything is working correctly. So that's the first thing I have to do. And then, so I've got to ensure I go long enough to make sure everything is working. Then that's it. I don't want this to turn into 2 hours of a broadcast or anything. So I know I'm probably about to, well, who knows what's about to happen. We're walking into the unknown together. All right. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go to YouTube really quick. All right. Okay. Making sure that I wasn't getting a negative comment because I sometimes do that. All right. Here we go. YouTube really quick. Oh, wait. Okay. I think that's okay. Everything sounds like static right now. I will explain everything in just a minute. It's been a frustrating day, and I will explain why in just a minute. All right, I think we're going to do this. I'm not going to wait. Typically, I give this some time. If you're tuning in, thank you so very much. Someone from Texas could be tuning in. I don't know for sure. It may be just me clicking on the link twice. But if you're tuning in, I greatly appreciate it. Like I said, it's been a very frustrating day, and I will explain why. Well, I don't even know why I'm going to notes. I don't have any notes for this. I don't have any. I do have some notes, but all right, ladies and gentlemen, not notes for like it will all make sense. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we go live in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Looking at our world from a theological perspective. This is the Theology Central Podcast, making theology central.
Oh, how I loathe technology. Okay, well, is that really accurate? Not really. Typically, I absolutely love technology. I don't loathe it. I absolutely love it. Fascinated by it. I want to try it out. I want to learn about it. I want to use it. I love new technological, creations, new technological products. I want to try them out. I want to see what they do. I want to understand all the things possible with them. But when technology goes wrong, it goes very wrong, and it can make you very, 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 have I made my point? Very irritated. Now, I know what you're thinking. What happened? What went wrong? Well, I'll explain everything after I say good evening, everyone. It is Monday, December the 1st, 2025. It is currently 10:43 p.m. Central Time. I'm coming to you live from the Theology Central studio located right here in Abilene, Texas. And this studio has been the place of great frustration. All right. So today was the day. I was going to turn on this very microphone and I was going to go live and I was going to give you a dramatic retelling of my debate with artificial intelligence. I had it all written out. I had everything ready to go, and I turn on the microphone. I hit the start the live stream. I go check the audio and there's this static. And I'm like, where's this static coming from? What is going on? And I'm like, okay, well, stop the live stream. So I stopped the live stream. I then went over to my recording software, from the Spreaker podcast hosting site, hit the record button, recorded a few, just like, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And I'm like, well, there's no static. All right. So that means it's not my microphone, right? There's got to be something going on with the OBS software and Sermon Audio. There has to be something going on there because there's no static at all from my recording. So I'm like, you know what? I'm already ready to go. I've got everything written out. I'm ready. I'm just going to go live. And if there's static, there's static, but at least I know the recording will be clean. And then I can upload the recording when it's all said and done. And that will only affect the people tuning in for the live stream. I don't like it for the people tuning into the live stream, but I think the numbers at that point was only like one person or two people. So I'm like, okay, I feel bad for them, but they'll get the clean audio, as soon as I upload it. So I'm like, okay, let's go. We go live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I go live. I give the dramatic retelling of the great AI debate that I had on 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 29. I thought it went pretty well. I stumbled over some parts and there were some things I didn't like. Sometimes when you're telling a story, are you telling it as if it's happening in present tense? Are you telling it as if it happened in past tense? I kind of messed up from present tense, past tense. Am I telling it in first person, third person? There were some of those basic storytelling things I messed up. But overall, I thought, I think, hey, I got at least a C, maybe a B. So it's all good, right? I was happy. I got that episode done. December is all about trying to clean up and finish everything up. So I'm like, I'm good to go. I uploaded it and then I started getting emails and I got, I think a few messages. I got a couple of things and guess what? People heard static and I'm like, oh, well, they heard static in the live recording. Okay, well, that makes sense. That makes sense, right? Okay, they heard it in the live webcast. And then so I went and I listened to the podcast. I listened to the podcast episode as it was uploaded. And guess what happens, ladies and gentlemen? At about the 7-minute mark, 7 minutes in, the static started. It's there. So what do I do? What do I do? Either I just delete it or I try to re-record the whole thing. But if I re-record the whole thing, that's an hour of re-recording it and I'm not being able to get anything else accomplished. And I really need to get a lot accomplished in the month of December. I could probably make it up by, just not sleeping one night and do recordings all night. Maybe I'm going to do that somewhere in December. Maybe I should just dedicate an entire night. Like I'm going to broadcast from 8 a.m. till 8 a.m, do a 24-hour marathon. Maybe I should really do that. I just need to pick the perfect day and the perfect time. I really probably should do that. It could be fun, could make for an interesting December. So maybe I'll do something like that. But I don't really want to delete it. I don't. So it's there. I haven't heard from anybody else to tell me, hey, you need to delete that. So I don't know if I'm going to get that. But I want to go back and listen to it, but it will drive me insane. So I'm like, okay, so what do I do? What do I do? Like if I try to go to sleep, all I'm going to be thinking about is there's an episode uploaded that's got the static. Well, is the static fixed? Well, I updated everything. I updated the OBS software. I updated the audio capture software that we use. I updated the Spreaker Studio software. I updated the entire operating system for my MacBook Pro. I updated anything. I was just walking around updating anything I could find. I'm updating it. I'm updating it. And so I did a test. The test came out okay. But see, it's one thing just to turn on the microphone and kind of just do a test and just like blah, 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 blah. How about them Cowboys? So, it's just, that's kind of useless. That's because then you feel like you wasted your time. Now you may go back and find out that there's no static, but so I thought, well, you know what? It's fast approaching 11 p.m. I know what I'll do. I'll just go live. And I saw that a devotional had just been uploaded, 30 minutes ago, 45 minutes ago, an hour ago on the Sermon Audio platform. And I'm like, there we go. It's like 3 minutes long. All right. It's called Jacob. Jacob leaned on the top of his staff. Jacob leaned on the top of his staff. And I'm like, oh. Now, did Jacob lean on the top of his staff? Is that a historical fact that he did? And if it is that historical fact simply describing that he was physically weak and he leaned upon his staff? Or am I supposed to interpret that Jacob leaned upon his staff as some symbolic thing? Jacob represents this, leaning represents this, the staff represents this. And if you're going with that kind of hermeneutic, where does it stop? I could just go to every verse in the Bible and go, well, this person represents this and this represents this. That would be insane, right? So I'm like, where is this going to go? I have no idea. I have not I have not listened to it. Now, what I did do is I grabbed the transcript real quick. I loaded it into AI. Artificial intelligence immediately started being negative about it, but I didn't read all of its critique. I have it right here to my left, so I didn't read anything about it because I don't really want to know. I mean, if we're placing bets, and I'm not encouraging gambling, but just figuratively speaking, I mean, and I could do this with almost any sermon. If you say, here's the sermon, here's the text, here's the title, most of the time I can kind of predict exactly how they're going to approach the text. And because it's really not that hard. I mean, you just give me a sermon before I know the title, before I know the text, they're going to approach it in this kind of devotional, sentimental, over spiritualizing, make it all about us kind of approach. I mean, we've only talked about that 1,000,000 times. So it's not like I'm really smart. You just listen to 1,000,000 sermons, and after a while, you're like, okay, everyone's following the same template. That's why that's why I can't stand it's definitely the devotional culture. We've talked about the devotional culture forever. I mean, we've done an entire historical timeline of the devotional culture. So when you see a message get uploaded to Sermon Audio, that's 3 minutes and 28 seconds, this is getting ready to be very devotional. But it can't be, obviously it's going to be devotional. All right. It's going to be very symbolic and very much more make it about us, but you can't do a lot of damage in 3 minutes and 28 seconds. But then maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe this is the greatest 3 minutes and 28 seconds of Bible teaching in the history of humankind. Because honestly, I don't know. I'm not saying that in a sarcastic way. Seriously, I don't know. Someone can make some very powerful spiritual points and scriptural points in a short amount of time, right? So here's what I'm going to do. We're just going to start it. And the goal here is it's just to kind of present maybe questions and problems, and then maybe we'll return to it. The last thing I want to do is this to turn into a series, but you know what? Here we are. I've got to do something to make it worthwhile. So let's do this. Are you ready? 3 minutes and 28 seconds. 3 minutes and 28 seconds. Now, I know what you're saying. It could take you 16 hours to review 3 minutes and 28 seconds. And I would say, how dare you? How dare you judge me that way? How dare you? Okay, all right. I would be like, you think you're so smart? Okay, all right. But I'm going to try to be brief here. But who knows? I don't know where this is going to go. I know this. If we stumble upon, what just happened, we will take note. And then tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. Yeah. A little nod to the Batman TV series from the 1960s. All right. We could do that. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. The main thing is there any static? See, there's like multiple motives going on here, but I am curious. Jacob leaned on the top of his staff and you make a devotional about that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, curiosity killed the cat, and I may get ready to die because this could break me, but I'm hoping for something exegetical, theologically profound, hermeneutically sound. Let's find out together.
Good evening, everyone. Today is the 1st of December, 2025. It's about going on 10 o'clock in the evening.
Okay, first, seriously, I love that. Here's some person using technology. It's 10 o'clock in the evening wherever he was, so that was 53 minutes ago. And I don't know if he was having his own devotional time. I don't know. But he turned on a camera, turned on audio recorder, and he recorded the devotional. I love the use of technology that way. I've been saying it for 30 years. Why don't churches everywhere have microphones in every part of the church, and pastors and elders and Sunday school teachers can go and share and teach and catechize and just flood the internet with hopefully sound biblical discussion. And just churches have all of these rooms. Turn them into 5 podcast studios. And just tell people, hey, come in. If you've got, you got to make sure the content obviously aligns with your doctrinal position. But just, man, you could be recording 24 hours a day, 7 days a week if you got a big enough staff. You could be, Man, you could just have so much out there for people. So I love when someone turns on the microphone and does this. So I want to be as positive as I can be. I have nothing but respect and appreciation that this individual at 10 o'clock in the night would turn on whatever he used to record. I think there's video, whatever. And he decided to share his thoughts. I may 1000% disagree with everything the man is about to say. But I love the fact that he did this and uploaded it so that I can hear his perspective. Even though I may 1000% disagree, I still appreciate the fact that he did it, because guess what? It's going to get me thinking about what he said, and it could turn into 3 hours of podcast episodes as we break down the actual text about Jacob leaning on the top of his staff. And we may have more discussions about Jacob leaning on the top of his staff because I happened to look on the Sermon Audio website and found a 3-minute audio about something that I probably would not have given any thought to. That's why we go to Sermon Audio. That's why we listen, right? Because even if I disagree, even if you hear me in a minute start losing my mind, telling you I'm getting in a car, driving to a liquor store because I can't handle this anymore, even though if I tell you I'm going to give up, ultimately, you know what I'm going to do? After I calm down, I'm going to have my Bible. I'm going to be like, okay, well, let's work on what this text actually means historically, exegetically, contextually, etc., 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 etc. And the next thing you know, it could be a mini series on Jacob leaning on the top of his staff. What does it actually mean? All right. So, and then once again, it will be an indictment against the devotional mindset. So, but even if that all turns out to be me going in opposite direction of what this man did, I got nothing but respect that he did it. All right. You can have strong disagreements on theology, but still respect the fact that he's using technology to upload this, and look what it's turning into. I mean, we don't know yet. We're about to find out.
In Hebrews 11:21, we read, "By faith Jacob, when he was dying, blessed both the sons of Joseph and worshipped, leaning upon the top of his staff." You know, I've often thought about that scripture. I've been using a cane for the last, I guess, about 7 years, 8 years. And so I can really relate to this scripture. Jacob, when he was dying, worship leaning on the top of his staff. He must have been standing up right before he died. He hadn't laid down yet. You know, Jacob had quite a life. He had all of those sons, but his most favored son was Joseph, wasn't it? And God blessed Joseph.
Okay, I'm not quite sure knowing where this is going. He obviously says he's thought a lot about this verse because he walks with a cane and has walked for like 7 years. So he finds personal connection with, oh, he's leaning on a staff, I walk with a cane. Okay, I can understand that to some level. But is this just, do we take this to mean, well, Jacob, when he was dying, blessed both his sons and worship leaning upon the top of his staff? Do I see that as just describing his physical state? He was weak, even though he was weak, even though he was dying, he ensured that he blessed both his sons and worshiped. That even in a weakened state, even in the coming end of life, he blessed his sons. That is significant for covenantal reasons, passing on different things. Okay, we could get into the significance of that. And he worshiped. So is the emphasis on he leaned on the top of his staff, or is the emphasis on he blessed his sons and worshiped? Is it the he's about to die and he's leaning on the staff, just describing his physical state. But in that physical state, he still was doing that which was spiritual, which is blessing and worshiping. Is it about the leaning on the staff, or is it about the blessing and the worshiping? Now, I know what people say is you can read the Bible and, could we take it in this very mystical way? And whatever phrase jumps out at you, this is the devotional mindset. Whatever phrase jumps out at you, you write that down in your journal and you write whatever you feel about it. But that's not how we do things exegetically. So I don't really know which way he's going. But to me, I feel like the two important things in the verse is the setting is his dying and his weakness, but the emphasis is on the blessing and the worshiping. Right? Is that not the point? I don't know.
And caused him to be right next to Pharaoh. And Joseph was used to save his family, to provide for them sustenance during the great famine. I hope that I can say that when I am dying, that I can bless my son, Mark. And I hope that I'm worshiping and I'm leaning upon the top of my staff, my cane. That's what I'm hoping for. We never know what we're going to have to face in this life. I've had to face a lot of things that I never dreamed I would have to go through. And still facing them on a daily basis. But God, who's rich in mercy, wherewith he loved us, gave himself for us. Well, that's what's on my mind this evening, is that Jacob, when he was dying, worshipped, leaning upon the top of his staff. May the good Lord go with you today in a special way is my prayer. God bless.
Well, it wasn't as bad as I felt, okay? I thought it was going to go very symbolical, like he's going to make it symbolical or make this whole thing symbolical, making it symbolic. There we go. Just say it that way. He didn't approach it, using a kind of a symbolic hermeneutic. He didn't really do that. He attached it to his own physical weakness. And then he said at the end, he hopes that before he dies, even if it's leaning on his cane, he can bless his son. All right. Now, we could get into the Is it the blessing here is for covenantal continuity. Let's make that very clear here. The blessing here is for covenantal continuity. God promises Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the tribes through Joseph's son. There's covenantal continuity. That's the blessing here, right? It's for covenantal continuity. I don't think it's giving us like, well, now we need to bless our sons. Like I don't think that's the point here. Did he not have a responsibility? So if we look at it this way, I would say this. So I do love the fact that he's saying he hopes if he's in that state, he can do that. Now, of course, he could turn around. I don't know where his son is right there in the recording of that. Son could be in the room. I don't know where he is. He could bless him right then. But I get the point. That in other words, at the end of your life, you want to pass on a spiritual blessing. Now, I don't know how the parallel to us. Is there a direct parallel? This is for covenantal continuity. It doesn't translate over to us. In other words, is this prescribing something we're to do is just describing. Now, I think that application, though, we may not be the blessing, but that whenever and in some ways we have to live like this every day. I may not be knowing I'm dying. Well, I mean, we're all dying. So I guess I could look at it this way. Maybe this could be the way we could look at it. Just not so much to correct him, just to expand on it a little bit, right? I don't know if I'm dying tonight. I mean, I got a little less than an hour, and then December the 1st will be over. I could die in the next, 54 minutes, 55 minutes. I could. I mean, technically I could. I mean, anybody could, but I definitely could because of my seizure disorder. They always say I'm going to have a seizure and then ultimately die. So maybe I have a seizure in the next 15 minutes and that's the end of my life. Right? So in some ways we have to live every day. And not to quote is it Tim McGraw? We got to live like we're dying, right? Is that I don't know the title of the song, but it's a song reference, but we have to live as if we're dying. Because we don't know. I don't know tomorrow, am I going to be alive? I don't know. But whether I know I'm dying, like in other words, I know my time is ending, or I don't know for sure, but know it could, then should we not live every life doing that which we're to do spiritually and to worship? Now, the thing is, we're never going to do what we're supposed to do spiritually correctly. That's why we need grace and the imputed righteousness of Christ. Right? And at the same time, you can turn that into a very moralistic lesson, because then you could say, well, why do we do anything else other than that which is we should be spiritually doing, right? Why do we do this? And why do we do this? And why do we do this for fun? And we should just spend all of our time, Bible. I know we like that kind of mentality, but the reality is we live our life and we do all these other things. So how realistic it is. I guess the best we can do is we always have to keep in at least some part of our mind, the reality that we will die. But it is good to feel that whenever I'm approaching death, no matter how weak I may be, that my priority would be something spiritual and to worship God. I'm not saying it will be, if I'm being honest with you. I don't know if it will be, because I'm a fleshly, sinful man. So what do you think is the significance of that verse? By faith. See, if we're not careful, we'll turn it into a very moralistic lesson, and I don't want to do that. We can bless others, not in a passing on a covenant, but can we not seek to bless others in various different ways, treating them with respect, with love, with kindness, with mercy, with forgiveness, caring for someone, showing love, true love, not our human broken kind of love, but trying to show a true, a deep kind of love, and worshiping God. If I'm not careful, I'll turn that into a moralistic lesson. I don't know. What do you think? I love the fact that that's what was on his mind. He didn't share it really in a AI was way too critical, but AI, I don't think understands. It just takes it from a textual hermeneutical standpoint, this thing is a train wreck because it doesn't exegete the text. But when you listen to it, you kind of know what was going on there. He wasn't trying to exegete the text. Something was on his mind. He used technology to share it. And he even captured the main idea that, before I die, I do that. We could expound on it a little bit. Can we seek to bless and worship? Because we're all dying. All right, I'll stop right there. I'll just read the verse. Hebrews chapter 11. Hang on, where is it? Here we go. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 21. By faith, Jacob, when he was dying, blessed both the sons of Joseph and worshiped, leaning upon the top of his staff. Is that not recorded? Is there a cross-reference to that? Hang on. Doesn't he do something? Is it Genesis 48? Is it Genesis 48? And it came to pass, Genesis chapter 48, verse 1, and it came to pass after these things that one told Joseph, behold, thy father is sick. And he took with him his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And one told Jacob and said, behold, thy son Joseph cometh unto thee. And Israel strengthened himself and sat up upon the bed. And Jacob said unto Joseph, God Almighty appeared unto me at Luz in the land of Canaan, and blessed me, and said unto me, behold, I will make thee fruitful and multiply thee, and I will make of thee a multitude of people, and I will give this land to thy seed after thee for an everlasting possession. Please note the land and everlasting possession. Okay. Verse 5, and now thy two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, which were born unto thee in the land of Egypt, before I came unto thee into Egypt, are mine, as Reuben and Simeon, they shall be mine. All right. Okay. He brought them out. He took both. Ephraim in his right hand towards Israel's left hand, and Manasseh in his left hand towards Israel's right hand, and brought them near unto him. And Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it upon Ephraim's head, who was younger, and his left hand upon Manasseh's head, guiding his hand wittingly, for Manasseh was the firstborn. And he blessed Joseph and said, God, so there is something going on there. He gives the younger the greater blessing, doesn't he? Okay, so there's far more going on here than just, see, if we just stay with Hebrews, see, that's the problem of doing a devotional thought. See, if I just do a devotional thought, I go to Hebrews and go, okay, maybe what I need to focus on is giving my blessing as I'm dying and worshiping God. Now, I'm not saying there isn't some application there, but I don't even think that's the point. How do we understand that he's doing this by faith, but then he does this faith and reversal thing? How do we interpret that? Okay, we'll expand on this. So what I want you to do, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take Hebrews chapter 11, verse 21, read it, and then I want you to consider Genesis chapter 48, verses 1 through 20. Genesis 48, 1 through 20. And then we try to understand exactly, what's going on there. There we have it. So his little thought, we will obviously we're going to have to turn this into a lesson now. It's going to end up turning into a lesson on Genesis 48. It's going to turn into a mini series. See, that's what happens. See, when I listen to anything on sermon audio, whether I like it, whether I don't like it, it literally could turn into 15 hours of study. I guess that's what drives me crazy when I'm doing everything in my power to get people. I mean, I've abandoned the sermon audio daily because it just nobody was really participating. The numbers were not reflecting anybody was actually listening, but that's the thing that just blows my mind. Here's this vast library, and you can't get people no matter how bad it may be, that can be 15 hours of study just like that. I mean, right there, I'm like, okay, well, now we've got to study Genesis 48 because of a 3-minute devotional on Hebrews 11:21. And do we interpret Hebrews 11:21 in light of Genesis 48? Next time, the rest of the story. Everyone have a great night. God bless.